Right, okay, I'm going to show you how in Adobe Photoshop you can create a animated GIF or even export to a film using Adobe Photoshop and a sequence of photos. So in the last lesson you'll see that I've made a sequence of photos and here are my photos on my memory card. So if I select all of the photos that I want to use in the animation and then I go open with Adobe Photoshop, what Adobe Photoshop will then do is open them all. And as you can see, as they open, you get a kind of preview as to what they look like if they were animated. How do I animate them though? Well, firstly, what you need to do is make sure that in your menu under Window, you have got Motion Workspace selected, okay? So it's the Window menu and it's the Workspace and it's motion. That will then give you this thing, and you can click on here, video timeline. That creates a kind of timeline for you, okay? Right here. I usually use this view because it's a bit easier to see, and you can see each frame. What you're doing is you need to change each frame for every piece of the animation to make it move. Now at the moment this frame will last when I press the play button for 5 seconds, but I don't want it to last that long. I want it to go a lot quicker. So because I've got quite a lot of photos, I'm going to choose a 0.1 second length for it to stay on the screen for, okay? Now, I'm starting with my first photo, which is 1983, okay? And then I'm going to go 84, 85, 86. As I flick through them, you can see it. Now, I can make it as long or as short as I want. In a format in terms of animated GIFs, they sometimes just loop. So I'm going to show you how to make a really basic animated GIF using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these, okay, and then it will go back to the beginning, okay. So very, very simply. Now with the first image, I'm going to use this as my template. So I'm going to go to my file menu and then I'm going to save as, because what I want to do is instead of this file being called IMG 9983, this is going to be my animation. So I'm going to save it as animation 1. It's my first animation, okay? And make sure you know where you're saving it. So I'm going to save this particular one to my documents folder. There we go. JPEG options, okay. So it wants to save it at the moment as a JPEG. So I do need to check what format I'm saving it in. So save as, yeah. So because I opened it as an actual image, as a JPEG, you need to be careful to make sure that you change it to a .psd file. That means Photoshop design file. So that will open in Photoshop. So again, I'm going to call it animation 1. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I save it in the right place. So in this case, in my documents folder. There we go. Now I know where it is. So I'll pop that one over there. These tabs are literally just slides, so I've got them in number order. Look, so I've got 982, 983, so this one is 983. If I go create video timeline, click on this button, that's each frame of the video. I'm going to make the frame last 0.1 second. Now what I want to do is, because this one I made out of the image which was numbered 983. I've just noticed there's one before it called 982. So I'm going to select all by pressing Command and A, gives it that glowing line. Command C will then copy this image, and then I go back to my animation document and I go Command V. What you'll notice is I've now got layer 1. So from layer 0 to layer 1, if I was to take one of those away, there is a slight movement, okay? That is a basic animation. Now, between this frame and the next frame, I can make that happen. So if I now click this button here to start a new frame, I can then decide in this frame I want that layer muted. So from this one, it looks like that. Then I go to that one. So you can see there's just slight movements each time. And each one lasts 0.1 seconds there. I've got my playback function here, so I can play it. It's set to loop forever, so it goes round and round and round like an animated GIF would. Okay, and now I'm going to go into my other images. So I've got here, another image, and every time I copy one of these images, so select all, copy, and then go back to my animation and paste it, what I really want to do is get rid of the one that I've used so that I don't end up using loads. So I've used 8.1. I've used 8.2, I can go to 80, select all, copy, animation, paste again. And notice I'm not creating any more frames yet, I'm just creating layers. So the idea is to have all of the layers here and then change which layer is on the screen every time so that the animation runs smoothly. Okay. Ultimately, I want to do these layers in the order that they were taken. So if we unmute all these, that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there looks like there's no difference between 3 and 2. So as you go along, check that you are making a difference. Okay, when you play back this animation, it will look like this, right? And because I've got 3 frames, I want 3 frames. So I have 1, 2, 3. Between number 1, I've got this one off and this one off. 2, I should have this one on, and 3, I should then have this one and then this one. Okay, or actually it's that one. Okay, so you see that I'm just going 1, 2, okay, and 3, and every image is different. If I played that back forever, they would go like that. Okay, so there's a very simple bit of animated GIF. The more images I use, the better the animation. Okay, so I'm going to go back and select all, Command A, Command C, onto my animation, Command V, pasted the animation over the top, got another layer now, create another frame, and then unmute the layer 2. So I'm going from that one. Don't forget to check all of your frames have something different. Because I've added a new image, that one has then come out on all of my images, okay? Whereas what I really want is it to go 1, 2, 3, 4. What I would recommend you do is actually just paste all of your images. So I said I was going to use 7, okay? So I'm going to get rid of the one that I just used, which was that one, 1980. This one, 9978, I've already got because I can see the selection mark there. So I'm going to get rid of that. 78 I haven't used. It's slightly out of focus though. So I'm actually going to ditch that one. So I'm not even going to use it at all because there's nothing there. 77 again, these are sort of out of focus images. 75, 74 don't really follow on. What would be a better follow on would be 84, 85, 86, 87. So again, you can see as I flick through, that's how the images should run in sequence. And if I go to the point where these guys just sort of embrace each other and then he lifts his hand and goes out, what I'm looking for is this one would be my next one, 84. So again, select Command A to select all of the image, back onto my template, canvas, Command V, and again now I've got all my layers, go back to the one I've just selected, get rid of it, 9985 is the next one, Command A to select all, Command C to copy, back to my animation pane, Command V to paste, and then get rid of the one that I just copied. 1986, Command A, Command C, Command V, get rid of 1986, 9987, okay, Command A, Command C, animation, Command V, and then get rid of 87. So you see this process can be quite repetitive. Command A, back to my animation, Command V, and every time you paste an image you should get another layer, so your layers on the right hand side should look like that. Okay, get rid of the one you've just copied, go to 91989, Command A, Command C, Command V, okay, and then rid of that one. So I am going quite fast here. Command A, Command C, Command V to paste, and then get rid of the one that I've just copied. Bye-bye. That's just by pressing the X up here, or just get rid of the image. At the moment, all these images are just open in Photoshop. So all I'm doing is copying them and putting them onto a canvas that can then become my animation. So yeah, Command A to copy, to select all, Command C to copy that image, back to my canvas, and Command V to paste. Okay, and I'm beginning to build up a series of photos that has some movement in it. If I go back to my animation, I've now got 11, so it's going to go from And actually, if we unmute all of them, I've got nothing. Layer 0, layer 1, layer 2. As I click these eye icons, you can actually see how the animation would move. You'll notice that between that one and that one, not a lot happened. Can you see that? This layer. So I'm going to get rid of this layer because I don't need it. And that means that I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 layers. Let's just double check these again. Yep, that's got movement. Each layer should have a little bit of slightly different movement. So if I unmute to the bottom, that's a little bit of movement, that's a little bit of movement, that's a little bit of movement. That's not really doing anything between there and then. So again, I'm going to get rid of that, and that's going to quite nicely leave me with just 10 layers. So I've got 10 layers, so I should have 10 frames here, and then I need to make every single frame different slightly. That one, 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 and that one, and then it will go back to the beginning. So I'm going to need 10 frames here because there's 10 different things that I want. On frame number 1, I'll have the bottom layer. Frame number 2, I'll have the next layer. Frame number 3, I've got the next layer. Frame number 4, I want the next layer. Frame number 5, frame 6, number 6, frame 7, number 7, frame 8, number 8, frame 9, number 9, and frame 10. If you work in even numbers like this, it becomes a little bit easier to manage, because now when I flick through, you'll notice that my mute or unmute of each layer just moves up. So I'm just left with a sequence of different images. Now if I press this forever button, this just loops. And it's quite a nice little repetitive kind of dance. If I wanted to go further, I'd probably include more images so that it becomes a kind of dance. Now, the thing you can do now is you can export this to different formats. So if I go to Save for Web Legacy, I get this panel up which allows me to make it into an animated GIF. Okay, so in terms of it being a GIF, what I want to do is, let's just zoom out so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, if you press play here, this is what my animated GIF will look like. Okay, typical kind of thing that you might put on a web browser, or you might see being used to show on a blog or something like that. Anyway, this is the correct settings, and that's your preview window. So I now know that that will save as an animated GIF. It's got the extension GIF after it. So if I then save that into documents, that is the first bit of actual animation that I've saved. Another way of exporting it is to export it as. And if you go to export as, it gives you lots of different settings. So you can export it to a GIF within here as well. Okay, but it's better to use the web legacy if you want to make it an actual animated GIF. That way you can actually use it. Another thing you can do is to render to video, and that is render video. When you render the video, it will then come out as an actual video. So you see it's an MP4 format. Okay, select the folder you want to save it in. Again, it's in documents, that's fine, and then render it. Now, when you're done, you can then test what you've got by looking in your documents folder. So if I open a Finder window, go to documents, I've got these different animations. To test your animated GIF, you can open it with a web browser. So if I open it in Chrome, for example, and then you'll see that when it's on a web page, it just goes round and round. If you were to put that as your header image in your WordPress website, then that image would be playing continuously. You might want to add, I would suggest you want to add more images. I hope you can appreciate I haven't used that many in this example because I don't want to make this video too long. It's also rendered it as a video, so you then have an MP4, which is a very short animation. And if you wanted to make a longer animation, So it's an actual animation that is a short video. So for your campaigns, you'd probably want more than just this, because you may want to add, you can then take this MP4 into Adobe Premiere Pro and then you can use it. But you may want to, if you're going to make an animated GIF that is to be used, for example, on the website for that particular company, and it's just something that is kind of raising awareness on an issue, then you can use that. So if you're doing your TFL animation, for example, and you just want an animated GIF that's a very, very simple looping, don't forget your Oyster card needs renewing or whatever, then you can make a short animation. If you're making a bit of a longer film or an advert that's 10 to 30 seconds long, then you will obviously need to do more. Bear in mind that's 10 images and that lasts for 1 whole second. Okay, I can obviously loop that if I need to, but yeah, ultimately, think about that 10 frames at 0.1 seconds in terms of if my settings down here are 0.1 seconds, that's 1 second of video. Obviously, if I make these 0.2 seconds, it's going to be twice as long. But the effect of the animation will be that it will be slightly less graceful and detailed movements. So it'll be slightly more jumpy, as you'll see in a second when I preview this one. So yeah, so that's a slightly more jolty look. Depends what kind of look you want to go for. Anyway, so that is stop motion animation 1.0.